Hello, my name is Salty, and I'm a motorcycle addict. Tonight's meeting of degenerates and a few honorable uncorrupted souls, but that is still up for debate, which would make this political. So, good evening. We are here gathered here on this Sunday as an intervention of sorts for Mother Nature. She is putting us through the ringer in March Madness weather. We have snow on the ground again here. Seriously, though, I hope everyone is safe and no one is blown away. And if you have a mysterious motorcycle placed on your property, please return it to a property owner, as Mother Nature was struck when she dropped it there. I'm back again with a Super Sunday episode of Chakra Talk. Let out the throttle, pull in that clutch, put on the brake, sit back and relax while we set and see what I conjured up for this episode from within the Badger set. A different type of hole. Don't forget this off-season. Please remember those of us riders suffering through winter with PMS, parked motorcycle syndrome. Our bikes suffer too. I am still trying to convince my wife motorcycles are a good financial investment. She doesn't agree, but I have conjured up a way that she may just be somewhat in agreement of aspects of choppers. I will not forget to unrestrain her after the show and ask her if she is in more sociable sense. If not, I'm willing to trade one basket case for another. Maybe you'll have better luck with her than I do. Let's sit back and talk about motorcycles, a lifestyle. It's all about the adventure. Most of all, remember, chopping ain't easy. If I wanted to ride something easy, I would have called your girlfriend. Moderators, please control the trolls and engage upon with politeness and positivity with an added dash of sarcasm and ill-mannered humor to enlighten the rest of the inhabitants of the chat. If that troll makes a choice to re-engage the moderator or myself, or if his choice is to carry on or terminate, it is directed to another member of the chat, or if that statement is vulgar or threatening, terminate. Otherwise, try to de-escalate before dropping the hammer. These are the rules of engagement. Without further ado, let's get chopping. Salty Badger arriving. Tonight's guest is backstage, and I don't want to keep him back there any longer. Let's get this started even off. The special guest edition of Salty Badger's Chopper Talk Tales from the Road is coming to you live through StreamYard on YouTube from the Badger set and streaming to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. So my kids have no excuse to miss an episode, unless, of course, I just plain bore them. And if that's the case, I understand. Tonight's special guest of Salty Badger's Chopper Talk Tales from the Road is Hippie of Hippie Chopper Corner, builder and enthusiast. Join me as we learn a bit about his journey on two wheels. All right, man. How you doing, Hippie? Can you hear me all right?
I got you loud and clear, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for giving me up a little bit of my time, a little bit of your time, and coming on the show and taking away from some time on those awesome choppers you got in the background there.
Absolutely, man. It's Sunday afternoon. I was done with it an hour ago, man. So I get done with this and to just be relaxed and catch up on my YouTube watching this evening.
Well, good deal. Good to have you on the show. I've been watching you for a while and definitely like some of the stuff you're building and the video content you put out. It's good stuff. So we'll kick it off with a quick question right off the bat here. When was your first memorable motorcycle experience?
Basically my whole life, my dad rode bikes. I think the first thing I got was a three-wheeler. Yeah, I'm old enough that I could still they still sold three-wheelers in this country before they outlawed them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got a three-wheeler, started riding. Then my dad got me a motorcycle. I don't know, I was 12 or 13 then. It was a 70s era, all steel. Everything on it was steel. It was a Suzuki 125, maybe. Uh, and then it just progressed from there. Just lots of bikes over the years, to be honest with you. But it started out with a 3-wheeler and then a dirt bike.
That's the way it did for us too. Speaking of those 3-wheelers, I started out. I'm about the probably the same age as you, and when they came out, my dad picked up a couple of them, and I grew up riding dirt bikes, and first thing I did was stick my leg out going around the corner, and it ripped me right off, clean off that 3-wheeler, and that was about the end of the 3-wheeler riding for us.
Oh, I ran over my leg a few times.
Yep. And those things, they're not super dangerous. We just weren't used to them is the problem. I think is the big problem. We were used to dirt bikes and not 3-wheelers.
And they're huge now.
Yeah.
They're huge. Everybody wants them now, but yeah.
I can tell you one thing about the 3-wheelers. One of the big things, those big wheels, the red Hondas came out with, they used to say they float. I can tell you they only float for a certain amount of time before they sink.
Oh yeah, those big reds, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the big tire ones, yeah, I remember those. They'll float for a minute and then they'll either sink or they'll tip over like that.
Yep, that's exactly what happens to them. So next up is so who is your biggest influence in regards to motorcycles?
Well, that would be one of my club brothers who's passed away. We called him Big Sexy. He's pretty much lit the fire in me to wrench and to build. Probably modern times, I've got some favorite builders out there that I do keep up with. Jay Ryan from Gusher Cycles, he's one of them. He's on Instagram. He builds just phenomenal bikes, like just awesome machinist and fabricator. And of course, I keep up with Craig and John over at the Easy Co. Because they build the kind of bikes I build. They can build a show quality bike, but they like to just slap together cool old choppers, and that's just what I do too.
Right, yeah, Jay Ryan, man, he does put out some amazing stuff. So the Easy Co guys, I mean, all you guys do. I think your bikes are amazing. I like the rider choppers. I think that's the way they're built.
Yeah, I've got one of Jay Ryan's from him. Well, it's on the lift over there, the David Mann bike. He built that front end specifically for me. So he don't live too far from me, about 45 minutes.
Yeah, he's a cool dude too. He's a real cool cat. So I like him a lot. So what was the first real motorcycle that started it all off for you?
Probably, I want to say it was a GS 650. It was a Suzuki. That's the one I think I got when I was like 16, and that just opened up freedom to me, because, back then you didn't just go in a dealership and buy a Harley. I couldn't have anyway if I had the money but at 16, even the average man, you had to go in and order your bike back then. But yeah, it would have been an old, let's see, this would have been in the mid 80s. It was 70 something GS 1000 or 650. I don't remember. I know it was a 4-banger. It was an inline 4. That's the one that I pretty much found my freedom on.
Yeah, them old Kawasaki's and stuff, they're still fun bikes to make choppers out of. I like the old Honda choppers guys build. I have a thing for the Honda choppers.
I had one, just got rid of it about a year ago. I had a 74 CB 750, and my painter, I put a Watzel tank on it. It was already hardtailed when I got it, but my painter painted a badass tank for it. And I had a guy here at the shop one day, and it was just in the corner. I needed to put a clutch on it. I needed to put a clutch in it. I hadn't put petcock in the tank yet. And he was like, hit me, what do you want for that bike? I was like, I really ain't thought much about selling it. And he offered me a price that I was willing to live with. And I was like, load it up, take it with you, I guess. Get it out of here.
Yeah, man, it's always nice to be able to get rid of some of this stuff. And sometimes they just keep acquiring, and then you always have them that stick around.
Yeah,
I've got plenty in the shop myself. So
Yeah.
So when and what was that first build where you started really building them?
Uh, 76 Ironhead. Yeah,
Nice. Like
it was a
that.
76 Ironhead. I'm gonna have to put these dogs out if they don't quit. They weren't supposed to come in here. 76 Ironhead. That was about probably 13 years ago. Yeah, probably about 13 years ago. Me and Big Sexy were having dinner one night. And, I told him I wanted to get a shovel head. I'd had shovel heads before, like back in my early 20s, and I wasn't no wrench back then, and I lived a whole different life back then. Uh, couldn't really keep it running, got rid of it. Let's just say I had to go out of town for some years. Uh, and, life progressed, and finally got back on two wheels around 15 years ago. Changed my life. Things got a lot better. Got back on two wheels, and I think I had a twin cam back then, and I had told Big Sexy I wanted to get a shovel head, uh, make a and build a chopper, and we actually found an iron head for a smoking deal. We bought that iron head, and I spent many nights up at his house, hundreds and hundreds of hours in his shop over the years, uh, building different bikes. And we probably did 3 or 4 together. He and I did, but it was a 76 Ironhead.
Nice. I think iron heads and sports just in themselves are always they're definitely a good chopper platform, and they're definitely a good starting out platform for anybody wanting to do any building because it's all self-contained.
And feasibility, for one, you can pick up a Sportster relatively low cost. Uh, and there's companies out there making hardtail kits for them that you can reuse your same axle, your same back wheel. You just buy the hardtail kit and the chain conversion, and you're good to go.
Plus, if you do happen to mess up a Sportster, it's not quite as bad as messing up a panhead or a knuckle when you're
Yeah,
doing your first job.
yeah. I used to get real apprehensive, especially the first one I did, and probably the second or third frame I ever cut. Uh, but now I cut one, don't think twice about it.
I I cut a newer road glide up, and for the first time, I got a little apprehensive again, and I stood there and looked at it. I'm like, man, do I really want to cut the neck off his brand new bike? I was helping a guy put a big wheel on him. I don't like them bikes, but if he wants help, I'm going to help him do it right versus just try to do it.
Sure, sure.
So, so is there someone from your life, living or not, that you would have liked to share some miles with, or you'd still like to share some miles with on the road that you haven't?
Uh, yeah, I mean, being in a club, I've lost a lot of brothers over the years. Yeah, probably 8 in the last 6 years. I miss all of them. Uh, and these 8, more than 8, but the 8 I'm referring to died on their bikes, of course. Uh, but if I could ride another mile with Big Sexy, it'd be him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. That's the thing. You ride motorcycles long enough, you're gonna lose somebody. If you don't lose them right beside you, you're gonna lose somebody close to you riding
Yeah,
motorcycles. It's gonna happen.
yeah,
It's part of the nature. We hate to all go through it, but unfortunately, most of us that have put a lot of miles down have been there at least once.
yep. I've had their big wreck. That's right.
Yeah. So, what's the one tale from the road that when you're a chopper and choppers do chopper things that really just sticks in your head?
Probably a bunch of them, but it'd be the breakdowns. You're 300 or 400 miles from home in the middle of nowhere, and I had an oil line break, and I had the metal line that comes down out of the tank, and then I transitioned to a hose, and I had one. It somehow or another it got a crack in it or something, and we're just on the side of the road. Don't know what we're gonna do. We got nowhere to go. And this old farmer came by, uh, and stopped and asked us, was we okay? And I showed him what was going on. And this dude wound up having 4 or 5 old pan heads in his back at his farm. He goes back and takes a brake line, takes one of the oil lines off, and brings me an oil line back, and brought me a quart of oil. And I fixed it on the side of the road, put oil in it, and we took off again. Because I was literally scratching my head like I had no idea what I was going to do. I was too far away for anybody to come get me with a trailer. For one, I didn't know anybody. The closest person I knew was probably 2 hours away. If I was lucky, 200 miles away if I was lucky. That old man came and saved us and wouldn't let me pay him.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about motorcycles. There's the community. Everybody's always right there with you to help you out, and they don't leave you stranded even when you think you are. But I mean, that's one thing about choppers. Like I've been saying for a while, everybody says, "Oh, they don't have gauges on them, no speedometer." Then you don't need an odometer on there because you're not counting the miles. You're counting the steps when you're walking when that thing's broken. So they
Yeah,
leave you.
you tell me all the time. They say something about I don't run a front brake. I'm like, but brakes just slow you down, don't they?
Yeah. Yep. They the front. I don't run front brake, and a couple of them we have to by law. But I mean, they're hanging there, but that's all they're doing. They don't work for nothing.
Yeah,
They're good for looks, and even if they did work, they're so far out there a lot of the time with the rake and the size of the wheels that the wheel's gonna overpower it anyways.
it's going to do more harm than good anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you ride
You
a whole lot different knowing you only have a back brake. You're not tailgating people. You're not blasting through town. Like you're
oh no,
really scanning the horizon. When
you're
you're
giving
around
your.
other people.
I think speaking of that, I was just talking about the other day. I think chopper riders are a little more cautious than the normal rider. I mean, all riders are cautious, but I think chopper riders that step up to a bigger bike like a road glide or a cruiser on their normal ride, I think they're a little more cautious too because we're used to doing sketchy stuff and being in bad situations and leaving ourselves a little extra room.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's got their head on a swivel, but we're looking for things falling off our bike too. We're not just looking for other cars. We're making sure things are still attached to us.
Constantly turning my head that way to hear that engine. Just any given time that oil pump quits working, and I want to hear that top end knocking.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's happened, or it's happened. So, um, in your opinion, what defies a chopper to you, and what draws you towards a chopper?
What defines a chopper? Man, that is such a debated question. I
And
guess,
that's why I put that out there in your opinion too, because everybody's always says everybody's wrong on that.
and this is just hippie's chopper corner opinion. I'm not speaking for the rest of the world. Cut the frame.
Yep.
Cut the frame somewhere. Either you rake the neck and put a long front end over it, and you leave the swing arm. That's a chopper, or you
Mhm.
hardtail it. But everybody wants to say if you don't rake the neck and put a long front end, it's not a chopper, it's a bobber. But I mean, I think the whole term came from chopping shit off your bike. The guys back in the 50s, the 40 after World War II, they come back and started bobbing their fenders and chopping this part off. And I think the term chopper was born, I believe.
And I mean, to me, I mean, like you said, it's a big discussion. It's a choppers are different classes. Like you got a chopper, you got a bobber, and you got a digger. I mean, there's multiple different
Oh yeah,
classes, but they're all considered a chopper, no
a
matter what they are,
chopper.
because you've cut that frame. That's chopping it. Once you start chopping and taking factory stuff off it.
Yep. No, I agree 100%.
So, do you have a shop, or is this just an expensive hobby that you've started to do?
So the shop is 10 motorcycles in here, I think. 8 of them belong to me. Uh, it started out just a place for me to come out here and build a bike for me. You know, I'd do one bike a year. I'd build one, ride it, sell it, have the money to build another. Well, things just went on where I just started keeping them. But now I'm actually building bikes. Now, this is not a working shop. It's appointment only. You know, you need to get a hold of me and call me and tell me what you want. And then I'll decide if I want to do it. I'll figure it out that way. But I'm building a bike for a customer right now. I got it, it's on that lift right there. My bike's on the lift right now, but I've got another customer. He's got a Sportster. He wants me to build it. And then a previous customer that has one of my bikes wants to bring it back and do some modifications on it. But no, I work for a living. I pay the bills. I'm a commercial roofer superintendent. So I'm not an open business. No.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough in the modern world to build choppers and make a living at it. I mean, I have big respect for them guys that do it, but I know I couldn't afford to live on just building choppers. I want to keep too many of them when I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. I just finished up a customer's bike. That one that's leaning way over, that's customer. We call him Tattoo. And I don't want to give that bike up. It was the bike was mine to start with. It was a '92 Softail that I picked up basically for a song. So I was into it real cheap. So him being a good friend of mine, I was able to make it a budget friendly bike for him. But I finished his up and I've started another customer and I've got 2 more on deck waiting. So we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah, it ends up like I always pick one up. You know, I've picked up 3 or 4 of them right now, and they're sitting in the shop for projects. That I'm gonna fix this one up and flip it when I'm done. And they always end up nice, and either one of my kids likes it, or my wife decides that's gonna stay around, and I just get attached to it. I mean, everything's for sale. It just takes the right number, but there's just always that one that you put all that time into, and building choppers, you're not going to get your time out of it. If you can get your money out of it,
Nope.
you're going to do good, but you ain't going to get your time back.
No, no. If you can recoup what you put in it, I feel like you did good. Now, them guys that make a living building them, kudos to them, man. I just don't know many people that have the money to have a chopper built. You know, if I couldn't build them myself, I wouldn't have one.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is, if somebody actually paid for a chopper build to have somebody build it and paid what the time was worth and all the parts are worth, they could buy a brand new motorcycle
Yeah.
tenfold. I mean, you used to be able to build a chopper for $5,000 easily, but now that number's $10,000, and that's with you making your own parts and doing your own paint work. So
And that's about what I'm into his build for. You know, it's start out with the right bike. You know, on average, the right bike, a good runner that might need a little bit of tuning up, shovel head, older Evo, $5,000. Right. Then you're going to put another 5,000 or 6,000 into it, depending on what all you want. And then you got to calculate my time to build it. And $15,000 would be the number if we started with the right bike and you ain't asking for the moon.
Right. Yeah. And that's it. You people don't understand my own time, or just like your time, our time's worth money. I mean, it's time away from our own bikes. It's time away from our families. It's time away from things we enjoy.
Time away from being on the road.
Yep. So, do you have any? You've got a lot of amazing builds and choppers in your videos that I've seen you do. Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah. I've got 2, I guess. The David Mann bike, the Ghost Rider tribute bike, and that red panhead that I got. The red panhead's the oldest one in the fleet. I've had it probably 5 years, I guess. Yeah, I've probably had it for 5 years. So I've got some I wish I had kept, but they're gone now, and I won't get them back.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing that a lot of us do is I think that's what makes us hold on to a lot of our stuff that we have, is because you always have that one that you got rid of that you wish you didn't, and then the next one you don't want to get rid of it. It makes it hold on to it a little bit tighter.
I went as far one time to search Facebook Messenger to to try to find the communication with that guy, and I couldn't find it. I waited too many years to try to look, and uh, but yeah, it was a
Yeah,
cool bike. I've actually got one in Sweden too. I built a bike, sold it to a guy in Sweden.
that's awesome. That's cool. I mean, it's make it across the pond with something like
Yeah,
that. That's a big deal.
yeah, he
Um,
sends me videos of it every now and then.
I tell a lot of people like motorcycles for me have been a part of my life for a long time. My first, my dad built motorcycles. He built chopper in the living room when I was a kid, and other people's choppers in the living room when I was a kid. But when him and my mom got divorced, she knew he was really attached to his '72 shovel head chopper that he just got done with. She said, "Well, if you want custody of him, you got to give me the chopper." My dad gave that chopper up,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I've looked for that bike my whole life. That's been
Yeah,
like if I haven't found it yet, but that'd be one that I would be willing to buy.
yeah.
So, but so does does one of the choppers, do you do more chopper things than others when you out riding? Does it do the breakdowns and everything else more so than the other ones?
Uh, Not really, man. Aside from that oil line breaking, I hadn't had a mechanical breakdown in a while. Well, the white one that I raffled off, uh, I had the brake lock up on it, but that was rider error. I didn't tighten up the brake stay on it, so it got wedged in there and heated up. But I've had shit just rattle loose on them because even when you lock tight stuff on these choppers, shit rattles loose, you
Oh, it
know.
does.
And if you're out there going on a road for long enough, you might have something rattle loose. But the Panhandle and the David Man bike, they're my two favorites. I ride them the most. Uh, the David Man bike generally fires up every time when I want it to. Sometimes the Panhandle will leave me kicking. Uh, so the David Man's probably a little more reliable,
Okay.
and I don't know
Well,
why.
yeah, they got their own little gremlins, man.
Yeah,
And choppers, wire electrical gremlins are always there, no matter how good electrician you are, no how good you think, and you fixed it. The road and the bouncing is going to find something loose to short out, or a loose ground or a battery cable. It's going to happen to you at some point or another. Unless you're just rolling on the trailer and you ain't riding it down the road, you're going to have electrical problems with
yeah.
electrical gremlins. And
That's
they
why
know that.
That's why I don't run those glass fuel filters, man. They burn down more bikes than anything.
Yeah. And there ain't no bell that's going to keep the gremlins away from a chopper.
Uh-uh. No, I don't even put one on my choppers.
Yep. So, on a build, when you're doing it, what is your favorite part of the build?
Probably hardtail in the frame.
Nice.
Yeah, because you get the bike tore down, you spend all that time stripping the bike down, and then when you cut the back half off of it and you weld that hardtail on it, and then it looks like something. That's when I start getting excited.
Yep. That's
No matter how many I've done, I still get excited.
yeah. That's in the like the I I've got the wide tire 280 chopper, one of my choppers, because that was just the way it was built. But I'm glad to see that the skinny choppers are back. I like the skinny old school choppers, and I like it the way that they look. So,
That's what I'm into, the little lane splitters.
yep, definitely. That's definitely what your builds are. They look great. Um, what what was your damn I did this moment?
Probably the one that I tried to find to get back, the white coffin tank bike. That was the first one I built on my own. Um, and I was like, hell, I did it, man. Because I had to go off everything that Big Sexy had taught me. So between between what he taught me and YouTube, I did it. I'm
Right?
YouTube certified and everything.
Yeah. Somebody in the side chat just asked real quick, and I usually don't do those, but this was actually a pretty good question for you. Is do you draw out your builds before you start them, or do you just run with it and go?
No, I don't draw them. I see them in my head. I know what the bike's going to look like before I even. As soon as I get it hardtailed, I wait for a vision, and then I know what the bike's going to look. I already know what the paint's going to look like. That's it. All just starts coming to me.
Yeah, that's the way I am. I don't draw them either. I mean, I got a vision in my head, but I can't even draw a stick person on a piece of
You
paper.
just took
So
the words right out of my mouth, man. I can't. I was going to say that. I can't draw stick people, let alone draw a motorcycle.
right, yeah. I mean, it's got two wheels on it, but I can't draw pictures, man.
Yeah.
So what would you say? What would you say to the younger generation to inspire them to share your passion for motorcycles?
If you want to get into choppers, start out with a Sportster chopper, a good Evo, a good '90s era Sportster. They're inexpensive to build. Um, Start out with the push start, so you can get out and have a lot of fun and ride it. And then if you want to step up to a big twin, find you an Evo or a shufflehead and, get you a kickstart and put on it, because there's not a lot of young people into it anymore, but I'm starting to see them come back. Like I'm working with a couple of youngsters now. I call them youngsters. They're probably in their 20s, maybe early 30s. And I help them any way I can. I had a kid come down from Bowling Green. I hardtailed his frame for him. Now he's got a big twin. Youngster in Nashville that actually traded me that bike. It was a soft tail when he traded me. I traded him. It was just a hardtail frame that I just hardtailed and a pile of parts to put the bike back together. And he swapped me even. So I try to help him as much as I can. But I tell him, you love it. Once you build one and ride it, that's all you want to do. They're a lot of fun to ride.
They are, even when they do the ungodly chopper things, or they leave you walking, that walk-in bike show where you're pushing that bike, it still don't feel that horrible to be walking in there, because there'll be guys in that show, they're coming back helping you push it in, because we've all been there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of covered the next question right there. It was best advice for someone trying to get in chopper building. You said that with the chopper. That's definitely a good thing to start with. Yep. So most builders tend to have like a platform or style that they prefer. Is that lane splitter pretty much yours?
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck on one style, and I'm fixing to. I'll always do lane splitters. I don't want to do a wide back tire or a big front wheel. Uh, I'll always build lane splitters, but I built my own sissy bars. I built my own king queen seats. I made my own exhaust for that one. But I'm going to change it up. I'm getting ready to change it up. Maybe do a solo seat. Maybe shorter sissy bar, shorter handlebars. That's about all you can change up. But yeah, lane splitters is what I build. And if you want one built by me, that's what you're going to get. So.
Yeah, I just seen your wife in the side chat. She said hi, and I was going to ask you, does your wife ever ride in the back of the chopper with you, or does she just pretty much say she's riding her own?
She rides that panhead with me. The panhead's the only one I got pegs for.
Yeah, I got my wife on the back one time, and we weren't expecting it, and it was she rode fender, and that she was done. She's like, I'll just ride my own bike. I don't want to ride no more choppers, nothing like that. That was too much ride for her.
She's ridden that bike in Florida with me. She's ridden that bike in Georgia with me. Of course, around here. Yeah, she's ridden on that bike a lot with me.
Nice. That's nice. I mean, choppers are great. I like them. I want to do a cross country trip on one, and I've been talking about and throwing around, not really cross country, but like from here to like North Carolina or something like that. And just a couple of states and do just a cruise camp out the old school way with the chopper.
I'd love to do it if I had to work time off from work. I just don't have the time to do it because I'm gonna be honest with you. I take that road glide over there, and I've done it a few times, and knock out 1,000 miles in 16, 17 hours, straight. And
Oh yeah,
fuel and go, fuel and go. My wife did it one time with me on the bike. But that one of them choppers, shit, 300 miles in a day,
yeah,
400 maybe. So if I had to go, you know, 600 or 700 miles, I'd have to do it overnight halfway there um,
yep.
to pull it off. And that's,
And that,
you got to factor in breakdowns. That could be 2 overnighters. If you have
yeah.
breakdowns and you're 5 or 6 hours on the side of the road, rebuilding a carburetor or, whatever.
Oh yeah, yep. And that's the thing. I think that's helped out a lot with my distance riding on the cruisers. Is that I now I get out and I'm riding 250, 300 miles. I'm just starting to feel like, hey, I'm just getting set down in the saddle. Let's go. Are we riding yet? But
Yeah.
because you're after riding a chopper 300 miles, you're like, man, I'm done. Like I rode, I've taken hotel pillows off from the bed and put them on my chopper seat to get rid of my bed sore so I could ride the rest of the way home.
Yeah. It don't matter how soft I make that seat. After so many miles, I'm feeling everything.
Yeah.
And that's why I put mid pegs on all my bike. If I see a hole or a hump, I'm standing up off the seat. And I don't run with about 18 pounds of pressure in that back tire.
Yep. Yeah. That's another trick. We run flat tires all the time, and that's not if you have a blowout, it's rough because
Yeah.
you lose a lot of tire. You don't just get a hole. You get a big hole when you're not running a lot of pressure.
Yep.
Oh, so would you say the chopper crowd is different than the rest of the motorcycle community, and how?
Yeah. I guess it could be different. I might alienate myself with this answer. Some of the crowd, it's hard to break your way in. I see some people that their social media is huge, you know. Um, but just trying to break into the builder scene is tough. But the chopper crowd, for the most part, man, everybody's pretty cool, man. Just
Well,
you walk up and you get to know somebody. If you got an issue, they're gonna help you. If you're at one of these events like Born Free Texas, uh, I had a guy. I actually snapped a kickstand, and I had 5 or 6 dudes there. One dude's running over to the swap meet across the compound, finds me a kickstand. He comes back. A couple of guys are holding it up. They're helping me get it on. Everybody's real helpful. As far as man to man, yeah,
yeah, and it's I see what you're saying. I didn't think about that question but when you do that, it's this is the community. Everybody says make it till you fake it, but you can fake a social media crowd and all that stuff and everything, but you ain't gonna fake the chopper crowd. Those guys, if you got the passion for chopper motorcycles and that's what it's about, you'll fit in. But if you're trying to fake it and you're trying to be something you're not, you don't have much of a chance.
yeah.
It'll come out.
I tell people in my videos all the time, I am not a professional. I was not professionally trained. I learned to do this shit on my own, and I probably don't do most of it right. Uh,
I
but
don't.
nothing's broke apart on me yet.
We're all cutting up factory motorcycles. I don't think there is a proper like a
No,
proper
there's no
way or
right or wrong
professional
way.
way. We don't have a book. There ain't no chopper building for dummies. We're all dummies when it comes to our bank account.
No,
We're building choppers.
I tell people all the time, build what you like. If it works, it's a chopper.
Yep, that's it exactly. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to. I don't. This community. I don't do the choppers because I'm trying to impress somebody else. I'm doing it because I'm trying to impress myself, and I'm doing what I love. I love the motorcycles, and I love the
Yeah,
choppers. This part of it for me is just spreading the passion and fueling my own passion while I was laid up, and then now it's kind of spreading the passion and getting people's information out there.
yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you bringing me on too. I'm
Yep.
enjoying this.
So, would you say the chopper scene is making a comeback?
I think it is. I think it's making a pretty huge insurgence right now. Like a lot of your shows, like Born Free, started out in California. I think they just had Born Free 16, right?
Yep.
So they had
Yeah.
Born Free in California for 12 years before they ever moved it to Texas. You know, this coming up year will be Born Free Texas 4. So they've moved it to Texas. Paradise Roadshow started out in California. Don't know how many years they've had it in California, but I think it's the 4th year for Nashville, Paradise Roadshow Nashville. And you were talking about Party at the Pen.
Yep.
The main one, I think, is in Utah, but they're moving.
Idaho.
Well,
Idaho, I
Idaho,
think.
yeah, Idaho State Pen. But you said they're having one also in Ohio this year, right?
Yeah. Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Okay. So they're having it there. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
definitely making a huge resurgence.
I mean, Chopper Fest, the huge one to me is the David Mann Chopper Fest coming from California. It's been out there as long as I can ever remember, and it's coming. It's coming to the stockyards in St. Louis this year, and later on this year. And
Do you
I
know the
think that
date on that?
I'll find out and I'll get it to you for sure because
That'd be a great.
I do have it.
That'd be a
I
great
got
one.
all the information on that one for you.
That'd be a great one too. Yeah, text it to me when we're done. That'd be a
I
great
will.
one for me to take that Ghost Rider tribute bike too.
Yeah, yeah. Or even that, or that David Mann. Definitely take your David Mann bike there.
That's
That'd be
what
a
I'm
great
talking
one.
about. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the tribute to Ghost Rider Tapestry. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, um, do you have a favorite chopper event that, and what makes that one special to you?
No, I think they're all pretty cool. I'm looking forward to all of them. The first one coming up is probably going to be Paradise Roadshow. And then not long after that, it'll be the Georgia Grundle Run, put on by Long Brothers Choppers. Congratulations, Cody Dunn, invited builder, Born Free Texas 4. And I know I'm doing Born Free Texas 4. Those are the only 3 I've got locked in right now, but I want to look into that David Mann Fest for sure.
Yeah, and I'll get you that. If I don't get it to you tonight, I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Oh, I know you will, man. Absolutely.
But I'll get it. So I'll text it over to you. And I got a couple other ones. I'll text you a little bit of information on that I found along the way. They're coming in kind of hot. Um, and I think we talked about it earlier. Smokeout Rally. I think neither one of us have been to that one, but that's on my slate for this year.
That in North Carolina?
So, yeah, that's the one in North Carolina put on by Cycle Source magazine there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a good old chopper party. I mean, that's what everybody says about it that goes. And I mean, that's the part of the lifestyle that we kind of all miss. And easy riders kind of fall by the wayside. They do one event now. They used to put on several events. They kind of fell away, but they're coming back. All that stuff's coming back, I think.
The Easy Rider Bike Show used to travel around the
Yeah.
country. And then it came to here in Nashville. They had it at the convention center in Nashville, and it's been 7 or 8 years, I guess, since they had it. And I noticed the last couple of years that I'd went, that attendance was falling off, and they finally just quit coming.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with it changing hands, ownership, and selling it, and all that stuff. But like other things like Chopper Magazine, they Chopper Fest, they brought it back to life, and Full Throttle Magazine there in North Carolina. I mean, I like the magazine factor of it. That's one thing I hope never goes away. Internet's great, so we can do this kind of stuff and everything, but I like looking at choppers and magazines. Flipping through the pages and looking at all the cool stuff inside of a magazine. Getting on a magazine, that's always one of the biggest things for builders is making that magazine.
Absolutely. Getting in a magazine.
So,
To photograph some of mine and submit them, but where do you find the time to do it someday?
yeah. Now we all document it on the internet, and which is all cool on social media. But I mean, still, it's still having that piece of paper to open up that magazine, put it in a frame, and hang it on the wall is always pretty cool in your shop. So, but that's all I got for tonight. I can sit here and talk about motorcycle and builds all night long, but I don't want to keep you here all night long either. And I got stuff of my own stuff to kind of do, and I don't want to keep you away from your work, your family any longer. So I
All right,
definitely
I'll
appreciate you
talk
coming
to
in.
you in a day or two when you send me that info, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, guys.
Yep, definitely no problem. I'll let you out of here, and then I'm going to finish up the show. And you have a good night.
All right, man. See you later, Salty. Have a good one, brother.
Yep, thank you, Hippie. All right, guys, that was Hippie from Hippie Chopper Corner. He's on all the social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff. Get over there, check him out, man. Give him that like, share, subscribe. Check out all his stuff, comment on it, give him some likes, see what you think about the stuff he's putting on there. He's definitely putting out some good choppers. That puts us in here for about 45 minutes on this episode of Salty Badgers Chopper Talk Tales from the Road. That's going to put us at the end of it. So you guys have a wonderful night.